mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
No.
What's your name?
Sally.
And what is your job here at the factory?
We make engine parts for training.
What do you wish you could be doing right now?
I wish I was outside with my friends. I was hanging with them.
Why are you working at such a young age?
To support my family.
Is it beneficial for you to work here?
No, I barely get paid. I got injured.
My name is Ben Okibello, and the time period my team of journalists traveled to was dubbed the Progressive Era, and it occurred from 1890 to 1913. Many issues were prevalent during the time, as pointed out by progressives, who were people that believed they could get a social justice by bringing out new ideas to the government, who was becoming corrupt and seemingly did not care about the people's needs. Those who led the corrupt organizations or political machines used bribery and violence for getting votes in elections and counted on city officials to look the other way. Progressives also didn't like the conditions that were faced by miners, factory workers, and other people of the workforce, but they wanted better living conditions for the poor. Immigrants had started coming to America, and in about 15 years, almost 3 million immigrants had arrived. Many were coming from Ireland, who was suffering from mass starvation due to fungus destroying potato crops, which is one of their main food sources. The great amount of people arriving made for great competition between the immigrants and Americans for jobs and housing. Industrialization was beginning to solve the problems of the early 1800s by accumulating money to pay for the problems that the U.S. had created. But those who were actually working in factories were not getting enough money they thought they deserved, and that led to strikes. Many workplaces were not a safe place for one to work at, such as in Butler, Pennsylvania, where a big pot of hot metal was spilled on wet sand, which led to a great explosion, destroying half the plant and causing a tremor to occur on buildings that were nearby. Some were literally cooked, and many were injured, and even some who came to clean up were buried in molten ash. From 1880 to 1900, around 35,000 workers died on the job, with an additional 500,000 being injured. And without workers' compensation at the time, being careful, even while exhausted on the job, was a necessity. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, a worker was expected to be on the job, and 24 hours straight, every other Sunday for some. Railroads began expanding their businesses when George Westinghouse created air brakes in 1867, and later Gustavus Swift developed refrigerator cars for food transportation. 3,000 miles of railroads were being created across North America, but workers could easily expect a measly 10 cents an hour, meaning a good month for a worker would be if he totaled $25. The 20% of women who were working earned even less. Boys at around the age of 12 were working, with a grand total of children in the task force at 1.7 million in 1990. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Would you mind telling my viewers what your name is?
I don't mind at all. My name is Upton Sinclair.
And it's all right if I ask you a few questions?
It is.
I hear you write a book. What inspired you to write that book?
Well, at that time I was a journalist, and I felt that the public had a right to know what was going on.
Okay, what method did you want your readers to grasp?
I wanted the public to understand the filth of the time and what was happening with the food industry behind the scenes.
Oh, what was happening at that time?
Well, at this time, we were in a progressive era, which was a period of reform for the U.S. in the 1890s to the early 1900s, where many new things and ideas were taking shape.
Oh, what impact did the progressive era have on you?
Theodore Roosevelt was warsick after reading my novel and called Congress and established a Food and Drug Administration and set up federal inspections for meat.
What time did you write this novel? What was the name of the novel, and why did you choose that name?
The book is called The Jungle, and it was published in 1908. It was filled with page after page after page of nourishing detail I researched about the meat packaging industries.
Okay, that's all. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Jacob Reese. It's all right if I ask you a few questions?
Yes.
What was your first stable job?
My first stable job, I worked at a new bureau in New York in 1873.
What was your job at the New York Tribune?
I was actually a police reporter.
How did you communicate with the public?
I used the journalism skills that I had and the experience that I've been through to connect, to write about what was going on during this time.
Can you describe to me your job?
I was a photojournalist, and I was one of the first journalists able to use a powder flash, and it helped me photograph the interior and exterior of the slums at night.
What project with the poor did you start?
I began writing and lecturing people about the poor, which included the Magic Lantern Show. Most of my viewers could not believe such a thing was happening during this time. They all were sad and mourned the lives lost by children.
How did you inspire Lincoln Steffens?
Steffens was a powerful journalist, and he felt as though I not only knew the news, but I cared more than what they thought. I was just like any other child during the Progressive Era. I was poor and I didn't have much, but it made me the man I am today.
What are some other books that you wrote?
Children of the Poor, Out of the Mulberry Street, and The Battle with the Slum.
Okay, thank you.